I thought I heard an unusually loud buzzing as I was walking out. Hey, welcome back everybody. So it is Saturday, April 29th, right at noon. The temperature is 81 degrees, humidity is 64%, and this is what I walk out to the bee yard to find. So I actually walked around from the street side and I did not take the usual path, which is behind the hives, because as I was walking out here, I could hear an unusually loud buzzing, which I know you only hear when you have a hive swarming. And sure enough, it looks like we have one in the middle of swarming. So I've been out here for a few minutes. I do not see where they are landing at all, so I'm just going to keep a close eye out on that. I don't have any heavy activity on any of my swarm traps. However, the funny thing is, one of my neighbors, Dave, lives a few houses up the street from me. In fact, that is where I rescued and relocated swarm number 7 from his backyard. So he contacted me yesterday via Instagram because he noticed some bees starting to congregate on one of the branches of a bush or a tree very close to where swarm number 7 was. So that was just yesterday afternoon, and here we are about 24 hours later, and we have a hive in the middle of swarming. So I'm actually going to postpone starting my weekly inspection, and I'm going to walk up the street and see if this would be a huge win, hell of a coincidence, but I'm going to see if these bees happen to be swarming back to the same location that I caught swarm number 7 at. So let's take a walk up the street and figure out what we can determine. All right, back at the location where I rescued swarm number 7 from this very branch right here. And check this out. There is a very small group of bees right there. It's probably not going to come up on the GoPro, and it doesn't look like there's that much activity right now from my bee yard. So I don't know, I'm just going to keep an eye on this location, knowing where they're at, and see what happens over the next hour or so. I'm looking on top of the tree line. I also don't see your typical like cloud of bees where there's thousands of bees swarming. So I don't know what's going on with that hive right now, but no kidding, this seems to be a pretty nice spot to potentially catch some swarms. All right, so I just came back into the bee yard, noticed a whole bunch of bees on the ground over here, and check this out. We got a queen walking around on the ground. It doesn't look like her wings are damaged at all, so that is extremely strange. All right, well, hey, for this week's inspection, I guess I'm gonna start with them, make a split, and see what I can salvage. If this is the actual swarm, I suppose my best interest is to get them into a box, figure out what the rest of the colony looks like inside that box, and again, see what I can salvage. So like I said earlier, I don't see a cloud of bees swarming to a tree. I have no activity on any of my boxes other than the corner box, which is, I've had bees in that thing for weeks now. I need to actually take a look at them finally. But I wonder what happened there. That's different to find a queen walking on the ground there. I'm glad I marked her, because that's exactly what I noticed. So I guess this could be considered swarm number 8. So anyway, like I said, I'm gonna make a split, get them into a box, probably put them in one of the 5-frame nuke boxes just to kind of consolidate them. But I'm definitely gonna start with this hive this week, get into them and figure out what's going on. This is a first for me, so join me on this journey. Hopefully I can determine something. All right, I'm just gonna let the camera roll for a little bit, So again, I got the marked queen right here. Just gonna set her on top of the box where the camera's at. Smoker going. Already smoked the front of the hive a little bit. Let's pop the top and figure out what in the world is going on. I mean, this hive is slap full of bees, so TBD. I have never come out to the bee yard to find a hive actively swarming with a queen on the ground. That is a new one for me. So at this point, I'm really trying to determine what led them to swarming. Meaning, I'm just going to go frame by frame and try to figure out if they had a queen cell hatch, or if they have another queen in there, or if they have a queen cell about to hatch, which is why she was trying to leave with a whole bunch of the bees. And if they do, if that is the case, they have a mature queen cell that looks like it's about to hatch in the next day or two, I'm just going to go ahead and make a split. I got a 5-frame nuke ready for them, so we'll have to just kind of play it by ear. But this is how my weekly inspection's going. I'm going to start with this hive, which is the hive in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th position. I'm not sure what it's actually numbered, but the hive down here in the 5th position, right in front of the pine tree there. All right, just finished with the top box. I actually went frame by frame just to make sure nothing unusual is happening, like swarm moved into the top box, which would be super weird due to the front entrance on the inner cover. But yeah, let's figure out what's going on here. Should be able to determine something in the bottom box because I have a queen excluder on here. So again, kind of TBD at this point. Just getting into them and trying to figure it out. But the top box is heavy. It has some weight to it. Every single frame is pretty much slap full with nectar, some cured honey, but they are doing an excellent job. But let's see why this hive wanted to swarm once we get into the bottom box here. All right, inside of the very first frame, we have quite a few mature queen cells that just haven't been capped. And then right at the bottom there, bottom of the frame, is a capped queen cell. So I'm just gonna set this frame aside in the 5-frame nuke to give myself some space. But that is pretty much what I was thinking, is they have some queen cells that are probably gonna hatch in the next week. Therefore, the parent queen and a whole bunch of bees, we're gonna get out of here and swarm. So I still have 9 more frames to go to, but I will most likely be making a split on this one. All right, inside of the very next frame, as you can see, another mature queen cell that will most likely hatch in the next few days. But I am glad I was able to cage the parent queen, because I would not want to lose her. I mean, check out these brood patterns. Solid frames of brood. And this box is slap full, so I'll definitely make a split. Again, 8 more frames to go, but already 2 capped mature queen cells and a few more in development, which makes sense why they were in the process of swarming or preparing to. Very next frame, I can't make this up, we're almost going frame by frame. But yeah, check it out. Very next frame, look at that queen cell, swarm cell. Got another one over here that looks like it was chewed out on the side. I don't know if the GoPro is going to be able to focus, but that actually does have a larva in it. But yeah, 100% I'll be making a split. I just need to find 5 frames I can move over with the parent queen, and then leave all the frames with swarm cells, queen cells in the box here. All right, so here we are, frame by frame. Another very mature queen cell on the inside of this frame, and another very mature queen cell on the top side of the outer portion of the frame. So I have not been paying attention to how many queen cells they have, but they definitely have a lot. So again, have to inspect the rest of the box, looking for 5 frames I can move over to make a split and get them situated, and hopefully they requeen and everything works out. I was able to find my 5 frames. The second half of the box didn't have any swarm cells, so I'm going to go back through the first 4 frames of this box, count the amount of swarm cells, mark them on the top bars where they're at. Here's the split that I made. There is the queen right there that I caught on the ground. So I'm going to get her released in here, but first I'm going to find some space for them at the far end of the yard, and then find 5 frames, put the hive in the 5th position back together to include the top box, and then just kind of see what happens with them over the next few weeks. All right, let's get her released. Not really sure what we're going to call this. I think this will be hive number 10. There she goes. Yep. Why are you flying? All right, there she goes. Down in the box. Get them put back together. Just like that. And again, got some space down there. So split number 2 of the year, swarm number 8. All right, it took me a few minutes, but I was able to find 5 frames. I am desperately running out of equipment here, which is a good problem. So like I said, I'm gonna go through these 5 frames, count and mark on the top bar everywhere they have a swarm cell, and then basically put the 5 frames that I got together back in here, get them put back together, and that'll be it. So here we go. So let's say 1, 2. All right, so where are they at? Right here. 1. That's 2. I mean, again, look at this frame of brood. All right, so 2 on that one. Count that one. I'm not going to count that one because it's chewed out or something happened to it. So we got 3. That's 3. Four right there. 5 on this side. So let's see. That's 4. 5. Let's say 5, 6, 7. And 8. So we got 5, let's see, 6 right there. 7, 8. Actually got 2 over there, so 9. 9 mature queen cells. All right, so I'm gonna get them put back together. We'll close it up here in a second. And again, just keep an eye on them for the next 2 weeks or so and see if any of those queens hatch out and mate and start the next next genetics of this hive. Alrighty, that's that. All right, there you have it, folks. That was one way to start this week's weekly inspection. So hive number 5 or the hive in the 5th position. I'm gonna call this split number 2, swarm number 8. So kind of all TBD. As you all just saw, they have 8, I believe was the final count, 8 very mature queen cells. A few of those are probably gonna hatch in the next few days. The tip of the queen cell hasn't started to darken, but I would not be surprised if some of them have hatched by next weekend. So let's go down to the original number 5, which is now in a 5-frame nuke. I do not see the queen on the ground, so that's a good thing. And she stood out with that red dot, which I am very, very happy that I have started to mark the queens, because when I saw the little cluster of bees on the ground, like I shared with y'all, that red dot definitely stood out. So that's one way to make a split and catch a swarm. Pretty interesting. With many things, when you keep bees, pretty interesting times. All right, so hey, now I'm actually gonna start my weekly inspections by getting into the hive down in the 1st position. Check out that video. That'll be the next in our 2023 playlist. But this was very unexpected. Again, like I said, when I was coming out to the yard, I was walking out from the back of the house to access the yard from the typical path, as y'all have seen in previous videos. But I heard, I mean, it sounds like electricity. I heard enough of a sound to know that something was going on in the yard. That something was going on in the yard to where I came from the original street side entrance, mainly because I wanted to check the swarm trap on the corner of the property, and then the 2 traps that I've shared in previous videos. But surprisingly, no activity on these 2 traps. Again, the corner trap has had some bee activity for like 2 or 3 weeks now. I definitely need to check on them. But yeah, as y'all saw, I share with y'all what I experience as I experience, and there was a mess of bees looking like they were swarming, but they didn't go anywhere. The queen landed on the ground for whatever reason, which I believe is why most of the bees were like really just hanging out right here and landed on the front of the box. So we'll see. That was an interesting one. All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Cole's Farm here in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Swarm season. Still late May, or I'm sorry, late April, not even May yet. And that is our eighth swarm, I'll call it, because I mean they're for sure swarming. So all right, anyway, hey, check out the next video, which will be the last inspection of April, which is just a routine look at all the hives. We got a few hives in the process of requeening to include number 5 now, but for the most part it should just be a rather normal inspection